Phil Steele says you should smash the over on Vandy's win total in 2024 at 2.5.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sportsing like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. On today's episode, we break down why the receiving core will be very productive for Vandy's offense, and they're a little bit underrated. DeRickey Wright will no doubtedly be an X factor on defense, but first, Phil Steele confirms what I've been saying. You should hit the over. Not only hit it, you should smash the over on Vandy's win total in 2024 at 2.5. So, a little background here. Phil Steele was a guest on Locked On Ole Miss with Stephen Willis, and they were talking about a lot of things on the show. If you want to check out the full episode, it's not all about Vandy, but it's a pretty good episode nonetheless. You should venture over to Locked On Ole Miss, check out the full episode. But I broke down this clip where he spent 2 minutes talking about Vanderbilt and why he thinks that you should undoubtedly smash the over on their win total. This is again confirming what I've been saying. This is very good. This is why I'm a big Phil Steele fan. Here's the clip. Enjoy. This is Phil Steele on Stephen Willis's Locked On Ole Miss.
And the other side is we need to talk about the Vandy State Aggie Doors, since they brought everybody in from New Mexico State. What's their season look like? Is there's a chance they could hit the over this year, right?
They remember Clark Lee's first year, 2021. I think the over-under was 1.5, and they hit the over on the second game of the season, or early on in the year. And then the second year when they went 5-7, once again, I believe the over-under was 2.5, and he blew that away by the fourth week of the season. So I don't expect that out of Clark Lee, but he can, of course, do it. Now, they play Ball State at home, Alcorn State at home, at Georgia State. They're favored in those three games. Pull one upset, and right there, their over-under is what? Is that what you have, 2.5 wins?
Yeah, I think 2.5 is what I have at the moment.
Georgia State's a rebuilding team, and you've got Ball State and Alcorn State. Yeah, you should be over 2.5. Still, I like that one a lot. I think Clark Lee is over the win total by the seventh game of the season, regardless if they get any SEC games. Now, winning the SEC games is a different thing, but 2 years ago, they beat Kentucky, they beat Florida. And they have had some battles in the past. So I did pick them last, believe it or not, Stephen, which is pretty much something you do every year with Vanderbilt. But Clark Lee's doing a good job there. And I do like the New Mexico State players coming in. Pavia is a guy who's an ex-wrestler, a quarterback, and he's fun to watch. And they amazed me with what New Mexico State did the last 2 years.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Vandy is able to do. And hey, Vanderbilt is the only SEC school with a winning record over Texas.
Wow. I wouldn't expect them to beat Texas this year. They're playing. Yeah, they are. Last time I checked, Texas was still favored over Vandy in that one, though.
Yeah, they haven't played Texas since like 1920. So
right.
that explains that. But it's still one of those funny stats as well.
All right. So lots to unpack here. Again, you should definitely take the over at 2.5. I like this clip because it really kind of just confirms what I've been saying all along, for you to take that clip or for you to take that bet. So, I've been over those wins. I've been over those games. Georgia State, Ball State, Alcorn State, those three games right there, I think will get you over that win total. I think there's a fourth, maybe even a fifth win in there. So I agree wholeheartedly with Phil Steele there. Talked yesterday about Virginia Tech. We'll kind of get into that a little bit maybe. But another thing, he really is a big fan of Diego Pavia, and a couple episodes ago we talked about how Diego Pavia was underrated as a quarterback in the SEC rankings, and I you know I think he's definitely I think he's definitely underrated. I think there's a lot of guys in front of him on this list that haven't experienced what he's experienced, haven't walked into Jordan-Hare Stadium and put a absolute whooping on Auburn, which was not a fluke. So you have to look at what what they bring to the table. So he's a big fan of Pavia, as I am. But one of the things he mentioned about this win total is, like I said, the easy wins are there, and you have to take advantage of those. Vandy did not do that a year ago. They missed out. I think the over-under was the same at 2.5 last year. They hit the under because they got smashed by UNLV. I think the schedule sets up for them favorably that they could go 2-1 to start the season for sure. And if they get the easy wins and take care of Georgia State, who's going to be good, but not quite yet at that point, and Alcorn State, regardless of what happens with Virginia Tech, I think you have a lot of momentum coming into the Missouri game. And say what you want to say about Missouri, but that's always kind of a tricky game. I'm not sure that Vandy comes out of that one with a win, being realistic with what Missouri brings to the table. But again, like, you get a Vandy team that's playing well, you really truly never know. And then, then of course, that sets up some things for a stretch run down the season. And then you get a reprieve in the middle with Ball State, and then another gauntlet of teams. But I think you get a winnable 4 block of games there with Kentucky, Ball State, and then it's Texas, but then that's followed by Auburn and South Carolina. So I think you have, 4 out of those next 5 are very winnable there. So I think if you're a team that's playing with a lot of momentum, that can really you could really roll into those games and be set up really, really nicely. And to me, if you take care of business the way you're supposed to, you play well in the Virginia Tech game, win or lose. If you win, you're going to hit it. You're going to hit it by week 3. If you lose Virginia Tech, you're going to hit your total by the time you get out of Ball State. You may even hit it after the Kentucky game, just depending on how you play, how well you play, things like that, what kind of momentum there is. Is this defense going to perform better than they are? Is the offense gonna be retooled enough? I mean, I feel like with the team, because they have an identity, is they're going to ultimately they're going to play better just because they have an identity, especially defensively. They're going to be physical. They're going to be fast. They're going to be getting after you a little bit. They're going to be. It's going to be one of those things where you have to kind of have to see week to week, because this Vandy team, we don't know a lot about them. We don't know exactly how they're going to fare in these matchups. We don't know exactly what they're going to do schematically, because we just haven't seen it yet. There's reason to believe that they're going to be good. There's reason to believe that this is going to be something that works out well for them, but you just really, truly never know. And to me, I have a lot of confidence in what this defense is going to do because of Clark Lea's pedigree at Notre Dame. I think he has a lot of promise there to be able to put together a really good, aggressive defense. Offensively, to me, the true X factor offensively is going to be Diego Pavia, and I agree with Phil Steele there. I mean, the kid's tough. He's got a bunch of intangibles. He's a good runner, good thrower of the ball. He creates explosive plays, and watching Pavia's highlights and watching some of New Mexico State's highlights just against in some of the games they played this year, it's very interesting what they do and how they set you up. I'm going to get more into that as we get closer to fall camp, to kind of give you an idea of what to expect and kind of give you an idea of what you're going to see with this offense, and just kind of try to get into the mind of Tim Beck and Jerry Kill, so that you know exactly, okay, well, when I'm watching this Virginia Tech game, I can kind of see the game plan kind of unfolding. and things like that. And of course, we'll have some crossovers and things like that. So I'm very excited about this. Phil Steele has been doing it for so long with his magazine. He's a great dude. Seems to be a great dude. Really good at what he does. His magazine is great. It's on point. You can pick it up on newsstands. You can get a digital copy. There's all kind of stuff out there with him. And even though he picks Vandy last, which I don't blame him, and I don't blame anybody who's picking Vanderbilt last in the SEC. Vanderbilt has not given anybody any reason to pick them anything other than last in the conference after last year. It's in total show me mode with Vandy. And I think they will. I think they will show you. I don't think, to me, and yeah, you can say I'm a homer, and this is a homer show. And of course, I'm not going to say Vanderbilt's going to finish last in the SEC. But then again, nobody's really paying attention to Vanderbilt. Nobody's really seeing what all is taking place behind the scenes, the new strength and conditioning program, the overhaul of the offense, the overhaul of the defense, the little subtle things that could make the difference between finishing 16th and finishing 13th, right? I don't think they're going to finish at the top, but I certainly think there's at least two teams that I think will finish underneath, and that's going to be South Carolina and Mississippi State. I have a hard time believing that South Carolina has enough in the tank to have a good season this year, because you lose Spencer Rattler and you lose what you have. Lenora Sanders is good, but I don't know that he's a game changer, and I don't know that he has enough around him to have a chance to do that. So it's going to be a crazy season. First season of the playoff, first season with Texas and Oklahoma. Can Texas and Oklahoma make the grind of the SEC schedule? Like, they haven't had a week-to-week grind like they're about to have. So that's kind of a hidden X factor for those two teams. Like, by the time Texas gets to the Vandy game, are they going to be exhausted from playing an SEC schedule up until that point? I think they have Georgia right before that, if I remember correctly. So, like, what's Texas going to look like in that game? You get a fatigued road Texas game, an 11 a.m. local time kickoff with a sparse crowd, a stadium under construction, a weird locker room setup. Vandy's just a weird atmosphere, especially now. It's not going to be so weird later, but it's just a weird atmosphere. And that can kind of play into some funky stuff. Not saying they're going to beat Texas, but I mean, the atmosphere does some funky things. So, moral of the story: go here, go to FanDuel right now, FanDuel Sportsbook. Make sure you go to sportsbook/lockedon and hit that win total -2.5. Take it. They're going to win 3. I guarantee it. I've taken it already, so you should too. But anyway, DeRickey Wright's going to be an X factor in that win total. I think he's going to be somebody that's going to be a very big factor in Vandy's win totals, and I will tell you why next. All right, this episode's brought to you by FanDuel. That's right. I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports just aren't sportsing like I want them to. It's a new verb. I love it. But FanDuel lets me keep sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And while you're at it, you should take that. Right? Moral of the story. Hint, hint. Take it. All right, welcome back. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Do you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Is it just annoying? Well, what you need to do is make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And speaking of you everydayers, thank you for making all of this possible. Without you guys, we wouldn't have a show. We're growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. So keep it going. So this, like I said, this is a daily show, and we bring it to you fresh every single day. So make sure you're checking it out. Make sure you're telling your friends about it. Make sure you are make sure you're on the train here, because this train is going to take off from the station, and don't want to leave you behind. But thank you again to the everydayers. Make sure you make Locked On SEC your second listen every day. Shout out to Chris Gordy. He does a phenomenal job. Shout out to Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss, the guy that was in the clip. If you haven't checked him out, he does a lot of great work over there. So make sure if you're interested in that kind of thing, or you just want to hear some a good podcast, make sure you make that your second listen. So DeRickey Wright will be an X factor on defense. Yes. And the DeRickey Wright story is outstanding, first of all, because in December, and without blame, before Clark Lea's first move, he declared for the portal. And then Clark Lee said, I'm going to take over defensive play calling. And DeRickey Wright had at about the similar time, I guess he was in talks with Texas A&M, and he had already kind of committed to play at Texas A&M, and he was all set to go. And, then something happened. And that something is he stayed in contact with Clark Lee, and this is a very valuable lesson in don't burn bridges. And Clark Lee did not burn any bridges here. Stayed in touch with DeRickey Wright, talked to him about how he saw him in Vandy's defense, and DeRickey Wright decided he didn't want to go to Texas A&M anymore. So, DeRickey Wright now is part of the Vandy defense once again, and he will factor in a big, big way. So, talking about the safety position, talking about the safety / linebacker position, things like that, I think this is a very interesting group, and I think it's led by DeRickey Wright, and I think it's going to depend on what DeRickey Wright's skill set is as of this moment. And does he fit better closer to the line of scrimmage? Does he fit better as a free safety? Are they going to play a lot of too high looks with him and CJ Taylor, with Randon Fontenette kind of down low as your linebacker box safety guy, or how are they going to arrange the safeties? And that'll be something that will be an interesting story about how they kind of align, because they're going to be able to, I think this gives them a lot of flexibility. I think DeRickey Wright is a big part of the flexibility that they have to kind of move him around in the formation, depending on, who you're playing that given week. I mean, they'll probably play him closer to the line of scrimmage against run-heavy teams, against pass-heavy teams. They may play Dante Carter back deep, him and CJ Taylor, and they may put DeRickey Wright down low. There's a lot of different combinations that you could have based on skill sets, based on game plan stuff, just anything in general for you to say, okay, well, he's going to affect the game in XYZ. Because DeRickey Wright's a physical dude. He's really good catching the ball at the high point. He's really good at contested throws. He's really good at winning those. And he's really physical, uses his hands well. And that's one thing that stands out about me. There was a play against Hawaii where he makes a leaping interception in the end zone, or it might have been a pass breakup. I can't remember exactly. I'll have to go find the clip, but he makes a monster play that stops a touchdown for Hawaii, and it's a play that I haven't seen a whole lot of people making, where he almost jumps backwards. Looks like a premier goalkeeper. How you see the goalkeepers leap backwards and just go gadget their arm, it was almost like his arm extended 3 feet to get this ball. And he either came down with it or he knocked it away. Either way, it was no less impressive either way. And it was a phenomenal play regardless. And that's the kind of impact that he's going to have. I mean, that's the kind of thing that he can do with the ball in the air. Now, at the point of attack in the run game, he's somebody that If he's down by the box, he can disrupt jet sweeps. He can disrupt outside zone. He can create traffic at the point of attack because he is somebody that can diagnose it, read it, and come down pretty fast. And he can kind of, and also in the RPO game, he's somebody that will muddy the waters a little bit. I mean, he strikes me as an intelligent player as well. I mean, I think you're going to see somebody that's just going to wreak havoc, honestly. And he's somebody that I'm excited to watch in this defense. And he's kind of like that third X factor guy on defense with Langston Patterson and CJ Taylor that I think is going to really affect things not only in the pass game, but in the run game as well. It's going to allow these corners to virtually sit on an island out there and do their thing, which I think these corners, I think it's like corners versus safeties all over who's the best in the secondary and ultimately who's the best on the entire defense as far as units go. And it's going to, and this is a competition I'm here for because, like, if they're competing on who's the best unit on the field, it means they're going to be making plays all over the place. And it means Clark Lee's going to have a lot of fun calling these plays. And you might actually see a human emotion out of Clark Lee. And I've been joking all along that Clark Lee is a cyborg, and ultimately he looked like a cyborg a lot last year. He's more engaged now. But I'm really excited to kind of see where this defense stands and how well they fly the football. And DeRickey Wright's going to be a massive factor in that, and his decision to not go to Texas A&M is going to be huge for Vanderbilt's defense and may even make the difference in Vanderbilt going to a bowl and not, because he's going to make plays, and more plays. And him and CJ Taylor are going to be a great duo. Brandon Fontenette's going to add to that. And Dante Carter's going to add to that to make a really, really good safeties group. So DeRickey Wright is going to be an X factor. Offensively, it's going to allow the offense to be more aggressive and to be more aggressive down the field. And to do that, you have to have a really good set of receivers. They lack star power. They're underrated a little bit. Nobody has much expectation for the wide receivers, but I think they're going to be productive. I'll tell you why next. All right, welcome back. Third and final segment as we wrap up this show, Locked On Vandy. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. Speaking of you everydayers, shout out to you. And make sure if you want to be the most educated fan base in all of college football, make sure you check out Locked On SEC as your next listen, as well as some of the other shows that the Locked On Network has to offer, like Locked On Ole Miss with Stephen Willis, Locked On Auburn with Zach Blackerby, Locked On LSU with Caroline Fenton, Locked On Georgia, so on and so forth. Make sure you make all of those shows part of your listening rotation. There's some really good stuff out there beyond the Locked On Vandy podcast. So once you get your Vandy fix, go get your SEC fix and listen to those shows as well. So as we kind of wrap up today's episode here, talking about X factors and talking about like being productive, I think if DeRickey Wright can be a true X factor on defense, it's going to funnel back into what Phil Steele says about getting the 2.5 wins, because the defense is going to have to play lights out in order to secure those wins and build confidence. Well, the receivers are going to get a chance to do that as well. And I think this is a group that doesn't have much expectations. And rightfully so. I don't think there's any true star power. And when I say star power, I mean, on paper, there's just not a lot of talk about these receivers being game breakers, being guys that are surefire NFL draft picks, stuff like that. Like, I think these guys being talked about as, yeah, they'll be okay, but they won't be great. And Vandy's they're going to slow it down. They're going to run 50 plays a game. They're going to make sure they take the air out of the ball, and they're going to play defense, and they're going to roll. Okay. That's not how modern college football works. You have to have productive wide receivers. Your run game is sure as heck not going to work because the athletes on defense, especially up front in the trenches, are too good for that to be able to happen. So in order to have a good run game, you have to throw the ball well and throw the ball effectively as well. So in order to do so, you have to have productive guys to get open and to create separation to get the ball to. Pavia can be as great of a quarterback as he wants, but if these receivers can't get separation, there ain't nothing Pavia can do. He's not going to throw interceptions. He's not going to throw to guys that can't get open, and those guys won't play. But I think there's a lot of different skill sets here on this in this receiving core. I think this receiving core has a chance to be really productive. You have some true dog mentality guys like Darian Wiley, Quincy Skinner, Jeremiah Dillon. Those guys are game-breaking type of guys. Like Jeremiah Dillon is smooth, can stretch the field vertically, can eat up yards. Same with Quincy Skinner. And Quincy Skinner's going to run tougher routes. He's going to run some of the shorter stuff probably. He's going to be involved in some of the RPO things, some of the fast screen things. He's going to be the guy that you just don't want to tackle as the game goes on because, yeah, he's fast. Yeah, he can stretch the field vertically. Like he can do a lot of things, but he's going to make contested catches. He's going to create tough yards. He's going to punish you because that's the kind of mentality he has. He's a tough mofo out there. And he is somebody that you're just not going to want to tackle him. Darian Wiley is a lot like Dillon, except I think he has a little bit of that Quincy Skinner dog in him that you're also not going to really want to feel great about tackling him. He's good in the intermediate routes. He can also stretch vertically as well. He's going to do some good things. Micah Bell in the jet sweep game, I think, is going to be good. Quick screen stuff, kick return stuff, some hybrid running back, empty set stuff. Like I think you can do a lot of different things with Micah Bell. These are all transfer portal guys except Skinner. Skinner's an incumbent. Junior Sherrill playing in and out of the slot. I think he's somebody that can be productive. He's somebody that can run some crossing routes, some slants, some stick routes, some things just to kind of get him into space a little bit. I think will be very valuable with that. And then Loic Foungy, I think he's a big possession guy. I really, with injuries and things like that, I really don't know a whole lot about him based on what I could see. Based on the limited stuff I could see, I project him to kind of be, kind of your outside, bigger target, physical guy, kind of like he's too small to be a tight end, too fast to be a tight end, can kind of hurt you out there, but I don't think he has the same field stretching abilities that the other guys have. I think he's more of a intermediate curl route guy, somebody that's going to just catch it and just bang forward for a few yards and go. I think it's something that somebody that you just have to, that just kind of wears on you a little bit. And so I'm really excited about how this receiving core is going to be able to just kind of mesh with each other, kind of mesh with Pavia, kind of mesh within the scheme, just see kind of how they integrate themselves within the scheme and just kind of how they affect the game a little bit. And it's going to be fun to watch them because I think they will. And a lot of people aren't giving them credit. A lot of people are saying, oh, these wide receivers, they're just okay. They lost Humphreys. They lost McGowan. They lost Shipley. No, not Shipley. I'm thinking of Clemson all of a sudden. Will Shepherd. They think you lose those three, you're doomed, right? And on paper, maybe they are. But thankfully, games aren't played on paper. As Kenny Mayne says, they're played inside TV sets. I love that quote, by the way. But, I mean, this group is going to be a good group. They're going to be special. They're going to be productive. They're going to be – I don't think you're going to have any Biletnikoff finalists on this team. Not yet, at least. But I think you're going to have a group that can move the ball, a group that can make catches, contested catches. I think they can kind of help you spread things out a little bit, both horizontally and vertically, and allow your run game to get going. They can allow for a lot of different things within your offense to kind of be able to hit a little bit. So I'm excited about this group. You should be too. And again, they're another reason why you're going to be able to take the over at 2.5 wins, because they're going to help, all of this is going to help the offensive line because everybody's like, oh, the offensive line sucks. Well, having good receivers that can catch and stretch the field creates less blitzing opportunities. And guess what happens when you create less blitzing opportunities for the defense? You don't have to block as many people. You're not going against 8, 9-man boxes, exotic twist pressures and things like that. You're not going against these disguised, like teams are going to have to show their cards earlier. And teams aren't going to be able to play some of these blitz cards that they normally play. And it is what it is. So looking forward to this. Smash before as soon as I sign off, go FanDuel, smash the over. 2.5 wins. Okay. There it is right there. One more time for you. All right. We'll leave you there. Make sure you like and subscribe at Locked On Vandy on all social media platforms. Thank you to the everydayers. You make all of this possible. Thank you for listening. If you like what you see, come on back and keep coming. Tell a friend. But until then, we'll see you tomorrow, and we will get you into the weekend and get you ready for SEC Media Days. Peace.